All right, we've got an amazing guest today. Miss Jennifer Watson is in the house, and we are excited because, as you know, we've got a big conference coming up, leadership, things of that nature, and Jennifer just dropped one of the most amazing TEDx talks around leadership. So we're going to dive into that, but first, as we always start the show, Jennifer, how do you define the word impact, and how do you show up and provide impact in the world today?
I love the word impact, first and foremost. And the way I define impact would be the ripple effect that you uniquely are giving to the world with your gifting.
Ooh, gifting. I like that.
Yeah. You know, I think so many of us, especially in a world where we feel like we have to fit in with everybody else's way of doing things, but that's why each of us have our creative, unique gifting, our things that are coming to us that we want to give to the world, our vision and mission. So I think what impact truly means to me is really getting potent about refining, defining what my gifting is and how I want to create that as a vision, a mission to the world. And when I do that, the ripple effect to me naturally happens versus force. So impact also to me means more of a natural wave, a natural ripple effect of me moving my gifting in my mission to the world for good.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. I like that. So natural gifting. How did you find your natural gift?
You know, I was one of those kids. So I'm an identical twin, everyone, 99.9% genetic blueprint of me. And it's interesting, environment versus genetics. My twin didn't know really what she wanted to do at a very young age. It took her some time into adulthood. I knew right away. I knew from a young age, it's so interesting, Rowan, that I wanted to run really fast. I loved sports. I ended up going on a D1 scholarship to University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I became a two-time All-American. But I knew beyond that, I wanted to be a healer and a speaker. I knew this probably in middle school or even elementary school.
Wow.
Some of that, as I went through my journey, got quieted. You know, I had a stutter. I was quiet in school, so I kind of dormanted the speaking part. But I definitely had that natural caring empath in me. Even though I was this athlete too, so I had this like hardcore drill it, grit discipline, but I also had this compassion, empathy, awareness of others around me. So I saw kind of athlete, Olympics, it's coming around there. Well, it's right here, right? But I saw myself really crafting and mastering being a runner, giving my way and showing how to lead and do something well to others, healing, and then ultimately speaking. And the irony is, it took me some time before that last one came into place, the speaking part. And I'm loving it. I've been doing it now for probably 3 to 4 years, and it literally feeds my cup like being an athlete did, which is interesting. I'm trying to figure out why still, because, you know, as an athlete, you're competing. You're just kind of a little bit more nails and grit, but there's something about it that still fills my cup. And I think it's because I'm on a stage where I can see other people and influence other people for good. And even as an athlete, some of my favorite moments weren't me winning individually. It was my team winning and seeing what it did to the crowd. So that could be part of the ties when I'm just in person giving my gifting and seeing others shift because of it. Oh, it's so fulfilling for me, but to see them transform, I mean, we have this one life, even if we live a short time or a long time. And I really hope that people can live to that highest level of themselves. And if I can show that, move that through them, through speaking at this stage in my life, more power.
Well, it sounds like impact, right? It sounds exactly what you just described. And it sounds like that is the through line that has gotten you into this world of speaking where there is so much impact.
Yeah.
And also what came to my mind too was leadership, right? You're leading, you're competing, there's a presence, there's an outcome. When you're speaking, you want people to feel that, make some change and transformation. So it all kind of leads back to, I think, what that natural gift is.
Yes, 100%. And
well, let me ask you this, just because I'm really curious now with the comparison to the identical twin.
Yeah.
When did the identical twin find this gift?
Yeah. It was honestly, I saw it. This is so interesting. When I saw, and this is a gift of mine, sometimes people's gifting before they do.
Yeah.
It's something I do even as a coach and as a consultant, kind of refining their gifting and clarity of purpose and what they're giving to the world. I actually had that gift looking back for others, including my twin.
Wow.
She was always, I mean, she did sports too, but she was always a little bit more in the creative portion, a little bit more just interested in it, and also better at like poetry, dance. And I love to dance too. Many people have seen my dance videos, but she was more that artistic one. And I was like, you should take this further as far as your writing. She was a great poet. Well, she did later in life. Cool. She was one of those people that wanted to experience all kinds of things though, from sports to creative arts to friends to different environments. And it wasn't that I didn't either, but I didn't appreciate that as much. My twin sister, Jana, was wanting to really kind of explore everything. Cool. I still, at a young age, so I'm like, I can see you. So I would say around like late high school, college, she started seeing her gifting in the arts and in particular poetry. She has a poetry book out. That's awesome. And I love it. I love to see her in her gifting. And that's what makes it so amazing, everyone. No matter the age that you figure it out. And to be honest, even when I figured it out, I've changed like 3 or 4 times in my life. So it's never too late. And you can always change it to a different course if you want to. This is your life. Be who you want to be. And I just encourage people to take that brave step to do that, because that's the fun part, when we get to see you get in your jam, because we can feel it.
Well, I think that's the transfer of energy. That's where the true alignment comes. It's where you have certain situations and scenarios, in my experience, where I can almost feel like I can hear it and feel it from your heart rather than just logic or brain or thought.
Yes.
And I've been on that side too. You know, I thought I was in my jam and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was logic, but it wasn't dropped down into the heart and centered. And I think when you really put all those things together into one and really spend time on it,
yeah,
you've got the natural gift. You're like, this is it. This is what's happening.
Great.
You talked a little bit about kind of the speaking, and it came later. And you knew that at an early age. What had happened, or what may have muddied those waters from you kind of stepping into that early on?
You know, it's really interesting. I was a people pleaser. I was a high performer from a very young age. I was good at a lot of things, from school to sports. I mean, running was the one that was my meal ticket to college, but I was good at a lot of things. And the reason why I mentioned that, as a high performer, I got a lot of accolades from people and pats on the back. And I kind of learned this kind of people pleasing. It felt good for one, but then I just kind of started doing what other people thought I should do. It kind of melted into, well, I'm good at it, and they think I need to do it, and I get accolades for it. So I just started going down this road of being successful. And everyone, I want to be very clear, that road doesn't mean it was the wrong road. I was doing it kind of for the wrong reasons with my gifting. And
that's exactly what just popped into my head. And I've been down that road, so I can feel that for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And during that time, it wasn't that I wasn't successful, but I felt like I was kind of climbing up the wrong ladder. And I kept kind of looking at things, not just speaking, but other things I was interested in. And I just trusted people, mentors, coaches, even my family, to do the other thing, do the other way. And I'm like, okay. And I was successful at it. And that worked for a while until it didn't. I started burning myself out, for one. I know a lot of high performers also are recovering perfectionists besides people pleasers, and always just going. So I was starting to get burnt out on that ladder. And I was starting to feel a little bit more of that stronger tug. But what would happen, I'd start feeling it, and people were like, you're so good at this. You're so good at this. And also, when I was younger, I would stutter. I was quiet. I would speak fast because I thought I didn't have a lot to offer. So I kept kind of pulling back because people would make fun of me. And I'm like, okay, I'm probably wrong, even though now I teach everything about intuitive mastery in my leadership courses, which is just interesting, right? We're always a student of our journey. Finally, I remember I had that come to Jesus moment. So many of us do, right? It's either like the bathroom floor or the kitchen floor. We're like, I'm successful, but I'm really burned out. I go between depression and anxiety. There's got to be a better way than this. I don't have to be miserable on the way to something I desire. I finally figured, I'm not liking what I'm totally doing right now. How can I expand and move that a little bit, if not a lot, and then start adding things, other ways to affect impacting people, influencing people. And that's when I started shifting the boat a little bit to coaching and consulting, like hitting more people in that space. And then I tipped my toes a little bit into the speaking and doing more workshops. And I just felt so deeply fulfilled. And I saw them transform. So slowly, it's just like that 1 degree kind of shift of the boat ends up in another country, if you even shift it only a little bit, if you go far enough. And I just felt myself moving further into that space. And I so have loved each of the areas that I've been able to create impact in. But what I decided to finally do is I need to be in a space where I know not only my gifting is aligned with where I want to go, but that my light really shines in that space and that I have no fear of someone telling me that I'm doing it wrong or telling me to go the other direction. Again, people pleaser, perfectionist, and I had to really rewire a lot of that. I had a coach, mentor for many years to kind of start breaking down. I'll call it kind of a core wound, something just I learned as a kid. I mean, I had a great family growing up, but we as kids have limited tools. So we start, connecting beliefs to certain behaviors. So it took some time for me to really break that down and wire aligned action with my impact, my gifting, where I wanted to go. And I'm going to be honest, and I know probably everybody that watches these, this show probably are high performers and maybe even doing things where you're misunderstood. I'm kind of been the one in the family that's, you're jumping off the cliff. I can't believe you're doing that.
Let's go. Come on. I'm with you.
I'm misunderstood. But I always knew deep down that was good, right? And you guys, it's not about like I'm trying to make things hard for me and always push the envelope. I find when I jump and go the right direction, even when I'm misunderstood, it's going to be hard with anything that we expand in, everyone. But when you're going down the aligned true path that you're supposed to be in, it gets a lot easier. You can rebound more quickly from hurdles. I found that, like versus the times when I was really successful in the past, some hurdles would just tank me for a while or just get so exhausted. Now I'm in a path where, yes, you guys have hurdles, creating impact, right? I have the waves, I have the things I have to move through, but because I'm so on fire, my energy, my frequency, my intuition is pulling in the people, places, and opportunities with where I'm going, no matter, quote, the adversity. I talk about this on my TEDx. It just allows me to keep going down that path because I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly.
And I've actually finally taken that step. And for any of you that are really afraid and you're kind of like sitting on a fence, you're like, I don't know, my friends are saying, my family's saying, take a deep breath, jump in and then grab one of us. Find a community that starts allowing you to have fun, to reinvent yourself, to start imagining the life that you actually desire, because I truly believe everybody can have that.
It's you've done the work, you've got the depth, and it sounds so elegant as you say it. I want to know about the struggle.
Yeah.
Because I think I've been in a place where I've shared the struggle, I've not shared the struggle. And my hope in that struggle that you're going to share is that someone can connect directly with it in that moment that they're in right now.
Yeah.
You talked about mentorship. You talked about, family kind of thinking one thing, you going another way. Like, tell me a little bit about that moment where you were in that situation where you had to make that choice.
Yeah. Gosh, I will say this, I've been an entrepreneur a lot of my life. I've been a high performer a lot of my life. When you combine those two, like, listen, creating the impact, gets me emotional, is not for the faint of heart. It's a very spiritual journey.
Of course. Yeah.
Through all the hurdles I've had, you guys, and I've had them where I've lost friends. I lost family for a while. I lost my relationship with my twin sister for a while. And I came back around, and that makes me still emotional, but I lost things and some things didn't come back, but I had to let go so I could actually be the person that I was meant to be. And I had to let go of not just family, friends. I had to let go of materialistic things, what I thought made me. I had to let go because of my credit score. Man, when I started, I was an entrepreneur, like slamming down, picking back up. Because there are times where I had to choose between buying groceries that night or paying a bill.
Yeah.
You guys, I had to deal with family ostracizing me. I had to deal with family that I suffered with severe depression, mid to late 20s, into my 30s, that my family had no idea how to handle.
Navigate,
And I was in an era where it was still taboo, and I had to reach out on my own and take a butter knife and find what I call the more alternative care to actually supporting me, something that actually helped me. So there has been a lot of hurdles through it. But what I found is this great quote. I remember hearing this, and this is kind of during my transition of like continuing to go, just keep going. It was from The Life of Pi. I think that was the name of the movie. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the movie, but I loved it.
It's a tiger movie, right?
Yeah, the tiger movie.
Yeah.
But I loved one of the quotes in there, and it was, "The sum of life is the act of letting go." And I thought, and that hit me so hard, whether it be physical things you need to let go of, you lose a loved one, you have to let go of old things that don't serve you anymore, behaviors, beliefs. It doesn't matter. It can be tangible to less tangible. And it's something I learned during these entire stages where it was hard, you guys. And that was like the summary of all the hard. I had to learn to let go of my identity to my bank account. I had to let go of my identity to my old friends. I had to let go of the people pleasing and perfectionism that I thought I had to be for everybody, including my family and my mentors. It was too exhausting. Through all those hurdles, you guys, and again, they were personal, they were professional, they were financial, they were relational. You hear all the things I had to let go of. I had to have my community. I know that's something you talk a lot about, and I couldn't agree more. This is why I just love your community. I'm just such a relational person, and I knew when I let go of things, I had to find, whether it be a personal community, a mastermind, a mentor, a coach to help me continue to keep getting up, because this isn't easy, you guys.
No,
because no one is. I will say this. I'm a pretty gritty, resourceful person, disciplined person. If you guys hear my TEDx, I talk about that, and it served me for a while until it didn't. And I knew I truly, humbly needed a community to believe in me during times I didn't believe in myself, when my bank account was literally overdraft. Yeah, guys. And I had just basically had to pay people the next week, when my family was just like literally not talking to me. I mean, you guys, this is real stuff, where I was sitting like in the corner of my room going, is this really where God wants me?
Yeah.
But as I always say, you guys, this is half the frameworks I teach, which is so beautiful. I started tapping into mental, emotional, and physical wellness, all of it, not just the physical. Started finding ways to heal and move through some of those beliefs and emotions and navigating them. I talk about on my TEDx. I started learning to lead myself in a different way with more integrity and intention and mindfulness. I teach that way to my leadership, program. I started looking at things I could really refine my intuition and stick to it without looking back when I was letting go of people and it looked like things were not going that well. Side note, I want everyone to know this. This is totally a side note, but I'm just feeling a download for all of you. If you're in that space, you're like, I know I'm supposed to do this, but on paper right now, it doesn't look good. My bank account looks bad. My friends don't look good. I'm like, if there's something inside you intuitively to do it, jump in. And here's the deal with intuition. It may be the right decision, but at first it may not look like it.
Totally.
There's going to be things at first you're like, was this the right decision? There'll be things that you're going to have to go through. You guys, intuition doesn't mean that your life's going to get easier. I teach a whole intuitive 7 levels mastery in my program, because as you continue to evolve and transform, you're not going to get this immediate fluff. Oh, that feels great because I intuitively, in my inner wisdom, gave me this. Well, it might be a lesson that you need to go down that feels hard. That is the right thing to do. So I'm going to encourage any of you that when you've made that choice, maybe you're like, if I felt it when you thought it was God, it was your intuition, it was your inner wisdom, find the people to support you. Structurally get the people to help you, kind of do get a strategy. That's very important. But also know that at the beginning, you're going to probably get some of this, whether it be financial, relational, spiritual, questioning things, questioning yourself. But the more you can continue to just take one step every day and find your community, you guys, that was a huge thing for me. I would have to say, other than really creating mind, body, soul integrity, really going after that. In a lot of things from diet, exercise, a lot of cognitive remapping and rewiring tools. Other than that, finding a community. So really keeping this temple, mind, body, soul healthy, then finding a community that aligned with me and believed in me and also helped me with strategy were my saving graces, guys, for sure. And I would say for me, that's when I saw my impact. You guys, I get really goosebumps from this. That's when I started seeing my impact become like accelerated influence, where I could just walk into a room and I could feel people shift.
Yeah.
Because of my light, my frequency. And you guys, I say this is yours. This is your opportunity. All of us have it. When you find your gifting, when you get really clear on your purpose and you get someone to help you with strategy, you walk into a room, people can't help but shift to you. Like, how many of us have gone to like networking events or like scrambling, bringing out cards? I remember the first time I started getting into like intuition and my frequency. You guys, I talk about leadership frequency in my course. I remember watching a woman that was just hanging out and she's like having like bees to honey. Like people were just coming up to her and I was pissed. I was like scrambling and running around, like doing the hard work, you guys, being disciplined and just like throwing my cards around. I'm like, what is she doing? And that's when I started learning this idea of like, from the inside out, cultivating my gifting, cultivating like how I wanted to lead and really being strong in that.
Yes.
And confident and not looking back and having my company and my real people that believed in me and kept me going. But when I started getting into that, I could feel it, you guys. This is not about being pompous like here I am. I'm saying you can feel it. When you go into a room and people start shifting to you and then the right people are there, then you start having the right conversations. You don't have to meet all 100 people in the room. You can meet the ones that are aligned with you, that are supportive of you and that you can support back.
Totally.
You guys, that's the way it is. I mean, there's 8 billion plus people in the world. Not everybody's going to be like in your jam, so to speak. But when you're in alignment with yourself and staying in trust of that, you bring in the right people. You know, I used to try to be what everybody wanted me to be. Then I brought in the wrong people. Then I'm like coaching people that probably didn't like my coaching. I didn't like them either. It's like, you guys are speaking at events that I want to speak to, and that it says nothing about them or me. It just means I was lying to myself.
Yeah,
like
I've been there.
Right?
I've done it. I've done it myself.
Yes.
And I've experienced it, you know, and you talk about that period of time where you need grit, right? But it's not the grit of pushing through and doing it alone. It's the support of a human. It's the support of a connection, a relationship that's deep, that's real.
Yes.
That helps you navigate through it. And I can think back in my whole entire life around that community of folks, right? Whether it's as a child and my parents are addicted to OxyContin and I need this community outside, right? Whether it's in college and I'm thinking about dropping out and I'm selling drugs, but it's that professor that's like, you were made for so much more. Don't go down this route. Fast forward into the 5-6 businesses I've built. Fast forwarded into the conference last year that I had, right? There was that point of time. You talk about the kitchen floor or the bathroom floor. This was the kitchen table for me, right? It was, we don't have the money to do this, and I'm going to put everything on the line and take a big risk. And that bank account was not well, right? And those situations to move forward and navigate through some of those hard times, for me, it's always been someone pulling me out of the dark. Or it's been someone standing next to me celebrating on the top of that mountain.
Yes.
And that's that community that I feel like you're discussing in your journey and that navigation and that community that allows you to be you.
Yes. And you guys, this is where I think it's like this whole yin and yang. Like, I believe that when you're in your impact, in your gifting, in your frequency, there's a lot of flow. There's more ease to want to jump back in because you're in your deep why. But you're going to have those moments where you have to have this potent grit or discipline. So, you know, in my TEDx, and not just in my TEDx, you guys, in my coaching program, I talk a lot about allowing your body and your brain, your brilliance to work for you, not against you, that you can have a lot more ease and flow with your life and your business, complemented with strategy and using intuition, knowing when it's not time to flow right now, it's time to get gritty. It's time to reach out to a friend to help believe it for you as you're on the floor. Does that make sense? So that, you know, it's not being kind of like this space of you have to be one or the other.
Yes.
It's knowing when to do one or the other. What I got into the habit of is grit, discipline, and doing it not only at the wrong time, but for the wrong reasons, thinking I was supposed to, when I really needed flow and a community to help support me at the time and get someone else to help me when I was trying to do it on my own and be a leader, like didn't show the emotion and didn't need anybody's help. That was my old thought of leadership, you know, and that's what makes the lessons so great, you guys.
I found that style of leadership doesn't have one main factor in it that I believe is necessary. And I believe that that main factor is transparency through leadership.
Yeah.
And you can't lead a team by hiding or lying information, facts, or details, or context or circumstances to the people that you're looking to create or smash this massive goal that you have, right? And you need that transparency. And I wasn't the best at it. I've learned it over time.
Yeah.
I've ran away from the folks that I thought were great leaders that aren't transparent.
Yeah.
I've fired mentors. I've fired the coaches. I've spent a lot of money on these things, and I've not lost the money because it was an investment. I've learned and I've grown, but I didn't know what I was learning when I signed up.
Right.
That process of transparency through leadership, I think, is a massive key to the growth of anything I do, because I want to do big things that involve more people.
Yes.
I need the right people on the bus. I need the alignment that see the big vision and the big goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the movement of leadership. And how do we fulfill that? How do we move through it? And how do we show up transparent? It takes a lot of authenticity.
Yes, it totally is. It's so interesting too. And I say this a lot of times as leaders, like that's one thing I've learned too. I'm so glad you said that, because when I've made the greatest leaps in money and getting a team that was aligned with me, when I jumped in and was like, you guys, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. This is where we're at. And I just felt this whole connection, like you need me, like here we are, Jennifer, not only like
Well, they're either going to stay or they're going to go.
Yes.
And that beautiful moment of where you see everything tighten up and people like, oh, this is a war and we're going to win.
Yes.
And again, to your point about that grit, it's not we're going to win, so let's go work 5,000 hours this week. It's there's now cohesive synergy.
100%.
That cohesive synergy, it's like those action movies where it's like this ball of energy and everything attracts it, right?
Yeah.
That cohesive energy creates this massive ball of fluidity and synergy and ultimately triumph at one point.
It's so interesting. And like what you're saying here, you guys, we're going to go a little deeper, but when you are in a hard space in your face plan like that, look what happens if you're willing to be transparent and you bring in a team that can bring in their gifts, not have to work a lot, but really evolve themselves.
You just hit it.
Which is great.
Bring in their gifts. Their
gifts, you guys, you got to bring them in. And this is the thing to you guys, I always say your body is very symbolic of how you should be acting as a leader. When you look at acute inflammation in their body, all systems of the body, all the team wants to come in to help you, whether it's an infection, bacteria, you're sick, you broke your arm. All team members want to know what's going on so they can help you heal. Isn't that interesting? So many, and again, I'm a healer by trade, you guys, but so much that happens in our body is so symbolic of how we should lead. When we faceplant, you guys, if you look at physics, when you drop a ball, like a tennis ball on the cement versus slam that mother into the floor, think of symbolically, when we faceplant, think which ball goes up higher. The one where you really faceplant. You guys, do you see the symmetry here? Like when we are really hurting and we really faceplant, whether it be internally, physically in our body or in our business or whatever, are we willing to take a deep breath and go, I'm going to be transparent. Body, what do you need? You're inflamed. I'm going to be transparent, team. Hey, how can we work together? You guys, it is literally physics how this happens. We heal faster when we listen to our body and we work with it, and the teams get on board. We make a problem go away faster when we let our team know, because now everybody on the team can now move in with their brilliance and their gifting. You guys, the longer I live, I actually almost crave hard stuff, because I know how much I'm going to learn. I know how much my team's going to learn. I know how much we're going to grow from it. And I know how much we're actually, tennis ball effect, going to ultimately accelerate from it if we take a deep breath and we know how to use each other's gifts and get through the strategy. You guys, I believe in the left and right brain. I'm not just like this woo-woo intuitive, let's do this and run. That's where both come into play. But when you have a team like that can go in together and create a strategy together, you guys, you become unstoppable. That's why I truly believe no matter the problems that are in your world, in your personal life, in your professional life, out there, we know we have a lot of them right now, you guys, we can make a shift and make it work for us. I truly believe all of us can have that abundance even now in a world that we're living in right now, where there's a lot of hurt individually and collectively, when we get this transparency, it helps us heal internally. It helps us heal our business and accelerate our success. You guys, we're unstoppable. Just continue to rely on each other, and it's going to be your best asset for anything that you're going to go through in this life.
Such a great comparison with the body and just how that works. And you sparked the thought in my brain and it comes back to obviously human connection, but that shared belief, there's a shared heightened experience.
Yes.
There's heightened senses and emotions. And when you share those things, that alignment comes together, and that's where that true deep connection is. And when you don't share those things, you're removing the opportunity for people to have a shared experience based on the beliefs. And I'll give you an example in my personal life. When we had a couple miscarriages last year, I shared that. And what happened was I developed deep human connection with several people. One, in turn, has helped me tremendously with my TEDx talk coming up. She's got 12 million views in 2 of her talks.
Wow.
Right? So just that synergy, because we discussed that in depth. She told me her side of it, my side of it. And then all of a sudden, there's this beautiful human connection where there's some other level of alignment. And I'm going, I need help, and it comes up, and I'm honest and I'm authentic. I needed help with the talk. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't know how to do this. I'm not going to sit here and say I am. But because of that synergy, because of that shared belief, the human connection went deeper. The relationship was deeper. And now in turn, I felt authentic enough to share I was struggling and I'm really nervous and this is so important to me. And I've got all these other outside factors, right? We were talking about the baby coming and, you know, my wife's super pregnant right now and my conference and all these things. But because of that shared belief, because of that human connection, because I have that relationship, I was authentic enough to share that and ask for help. And in turn, she helped me with the kickoff idea that I was struggling with.
Wow. I mean, like, it's so interesting. By the way, I believe in strategy. I do strategy. I've been in business a long time. But we talk so much about business strategy in something this simple, just being human with someone. It literally domino effects that we don't have to try so hard to reach out to find someone to help us for a TEDx. It like naturally happened because you shared a part of you. You guys, relationships are so important. I go back to, it is the same thing for your body. Your systems in your body are relationships to you. It is crying out all the time, AKA communication symptoms. Everyone, do this, do this, do this. When you listen and stop doing this, suppressing emotions, saying, oh, I can deal with that physical issue. I can deal with that anger later, but let it express and commune with your relationship in your body. You guys, that is a form of self-love, self-authenticity.
Yes.
You guys, I'm just getting this right now. I'm like, when I work here and I'm communicating with this right here, I'm going to authentically want to communicate more with you, be vulnerable with you. But if I'm over here going, express the emotions, express the physical stuff, just be the badass leader of being strong. Yeah. We all know how that rolls out for most of us and they live long enough. But you guys, again, I go back to like this like symbolism of be loving, have a relationship, an authentic relationship with your body and what it's saying to you. And then you can bring your expressive frequency and light in a healthy, vital way. Then you draw in the people like you did with her because your light's now showing because you're willing to share that pain, that emotion from something that was so hard on you. So you're not only healing here, now you're drawing in someone else that's also getting healing from that. And oh my gosh, now a business opportunity. Oh, you guys, it's just like, it's like this natural dominate. It so excites me, everyone. I truly believe business is completely shifting in how you get business. Leadership is completely shifting in how you become a good leader. And it starts with stuff like this. And I always say, you guys, I'm always going to say it, not just because I'm a wellness provider, healer by trade, but I'm like, it does start here when you really get that, being authentic here, have a relationship with yourself here, then connecting accordingly. The people naturally come to you in the opportunities, in the places. And then you're like, how is this happening? doesn't mean you're not going to experience hard stuff. But what's happening is you're doing stuff like this through the pain. So you guys hear what I'm saying? Like, he knows his deep why. You know, Jim knew his deep why for the impact, and he had some financial struggles, but he's going through something harder, and he found someone else that could help. It's like all this is happening in this, looks like complicated web, but it's not. It's just this authenticity of the stumbling that's happening and then pulling in your natural people. And I love that. And it's literally reflective of what your body has already been wanting you to do for yourself first. And when you do, game over when you start doing it with others.
Totally. I believe too that in order to get to that point, to have that level of transparent leadership, that authentic communication, a lot of people look at that as risk.
Yeah.
They look at that as risk for weakness. They look at that as risk for leverage. They look at that as risk for someone to take you in a vulnerable moment and use that information for negative impact.
Yeah.
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
I believe that is true.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say that's not true.
Yeah.
But what I also believe is just like protecting anything, like your family, my daughter, you've got to understand the relationship and the connection before you go and give 110% of authenticity,
right,
or 110% of openness.
Yes.
And what I've also realized in those moments is it starts with, well, let me back up. You should be authentic, but I think you should be strategic. I don't think you should be going and telling everybody everything about your life because there are bad people in the world. Yeah. But I'm also the person telling you that I believe 99% of people are good.
Yeah.
I'm also the person that tells you 99% of people also make mistakes, that they don't inherently anticipate the outcome of their actions or their words. Right? Your words and your actions either hurt or help. There's no neutral in this world, right? It's either positive or negative.
Right.
But so my statement or my thought that I would want to share with everybody is understand the level of authenticity and vulnerability.
Right, for sure.
I've done this wrong and have completely been leveraged against and completely lost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because I thought the relationship, the connection, the alignment was at a level that it wasn't. That person took that information and they leveraged it and they hurt me.
Yes.
They hurt me.
Yeah.
And they blackmailed me, actually.
Wow.
Of a very, very interesting, unique situation. So share a level of authenticity and vulnerability that aligns with the level of human connection and the level of relationship. The second piece is, in order to do that, you have to develop and work on the relationship with yourself.
Yeah. For sure.
And for me, I was the person that was grit, push all the negative emotion to the side, never feel it, never understand it, never navigate it, never go deep on it, never get through it.
Yeah.
And I also think traumas and the relationship with yourself is a constant body of work, right? Like you don't just, I'm over this.
Right.
And I've made that mistake in the last couple of years. I'm good. And then it pops up when I never even thought it would.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm sharing all this with everyone because I really want to talk about the relationship with yourself. And part of doing that, I believe that is the systemic core of being able to be transparent because you own the reality of you. Yeah. Like if you made a mistake, you have to work through that mistake and own it to then be able to be transparent and share it.
Right.
And I think back of just so many situations where I was sharing naturally because I did have a good relationship with myself. Now I remember a period of time where I didn't share anything. Right. I lived a life of lies, not authentic, using all logic, no heart. And then I found myself back in this world today where I truly love who I am. I like what I see. Have you experienced kind of these kind of ups and downs regarding the relationship with yourself? And what have you learned, or what could you share with some of those situations with the listeners today?
No, that is such a beautiful question. Yes, as I've evolved to different levels and done different things and finally gotten on the path that I want to get on. Absolutely. There's times where I'm like, I feel like I'm being authentic, I'm being trustworthy, I'm being true to myself, my inner wisdom, then I'm not. Like, it's almost like, and go back to the body, you guys. I use the body as an example. Like when you're building muscle in the gym, you like kind of break down before you build back up, right? Sometimes I question, like, am I actually becoming a better leader? Am I actually becoming more of a person that's trusting my inner wisdom? Am I actually becoming more authentic? And I believe as you go to the next levels of you, some of that, I want to say, well, back a little bit, it'll give you an opportunity for a lesson to kind of clear up some of it.
Yes.
So it's, as you guys go to that next level, you may question that, like, am I actually becoming more authentic in the right places and making lessons and trusting inner wisdom when I should? You're going to have points where you're going to have mirrors of several lessons to practice and refine and tweak and get some of that out. As you said, I think that's such a good point. There's no such thing to me, I feel, as full healed. We're constantly evolving and healing to our next level. And I believe hard lessons are going to come during our path of evolution and more wisdom, where some of these old parts that we maybe are still struggling with are going to come up as lessons to try again. We may face plant, have to learn again or not. And it doesn't mean, again, you guys, that remember I said, it doesn't mean it wasn't intuition. It might have been necessary. And I'm not saying that you guys blackmail and all these problems, I'm saying that was necessary. Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'm not going to, judge your path or journey, but I will say sometimes when those things happen, there are lessons with to kind of help filter out what is still there behind that. Like, why did I make that choice? It's not shaming it, but actually going through that. So yes, I've definitely had these ebbs and flows of trusting self, inner wisdom, using my authentic voice, knowing when to do it. Was I really evolving my intuition? And it's been those ebbs and flows. But when I look back at my life overall with the lessons, that I'm 100% more aligned with my path. I'm 100% more trusting my inner wisdom. I'm 100% more intuitive in staying on the path, in making sure I have the right community around me. So that's
what I say, and the community allowing you to keep moving in the right direction.
So when you zoom out, that gains perspective a little bit for you when you're like, I feel like I'm crashing, burning. We'll zoom out a little bit and look at where you've come compared to maybe 5 years ago, 18 years ago. Because I'm going to go back to this too. And I know we've talked about being, authentic to yourself and knowing when to give fully of that. I'm going to step back a little bit more and I'll say this, you guys, one of the things I talk about is, shifting your emotional state so you can get into your highest frequency and being your inner wisdom more times than not. Not, having your old beliefs or society tell you certain things, you get in that saran wrap of emotions again. So one of the things I talk about is shifting your emotional state with the day in, day out activities that are hurdles that pull you into that emotion and belief and make you kind of question things, how you shift out of that powerfully. It's something I teach, and get into the frequency of your light and your inner wisdom. And your inner wisdom, you guys, is basically your brilliance, your intuition coming out and telling you, these are the people, places, activities I want you to do that are aligned for you. Again, it may look like a lesson at first and whatever, but the reason why I mentioned that, I know you said, well, some people you trusted with and were too authentic to or not, because this is why I say it's one of the top level, next level leadership traits for people is intuition that guides you to your inner wisdom. Authenticity is a great example of that. Like when you talk to people around you, getting to know them, how much should I share with them or not? That's part intuition. How much should I invest in this? Intuition. How people like Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey, you guys, talk about all the time the traits they've used over the years to refine to help them with more powerful decisions. You know what they've said? Like the top 2 or 3 of many of these multi-billionaires, intuition. You guys, intuition is just the antennas to your inner wisdom.
Yep.
Learning to refine that, get out of the noise of your beliefs, perceived or real, okay, the emotions that come from that is a skill set so you can get to this inner wisdom that allows you to make the decisions of, how much should I share with this person or not? How much should I invest in or not? Should I do this decision or not? I kid you not, I've helped leaders save time, increase productivity, increase performance just by going back to their inner wisdom, which is guided by their intuition. And listen, when you have a busy life and there's a lot of layers, you have to know how to shift through the emotions and beliefs and align back onto your path.
Totally.
And it's something that I have learned. If I had to summarize it,
this is key. You've got to listen to this, because as she's saying this, I'm thinking back 6, 7, 8 times in businesses, ideas that I've had, thoughts that I've had, that someone or some outside influence told me not to do. That's stupid. That's a waste of time. Yeah. I've literally, people I've paid to tell me what to do, told me not to do these things. And every time I've came back to them because something burning in my heart said, this is the right thing to do, this is to do it. Those things are what created the most positive impact in my business, and for those choosing to align with my business, whether they're a partner, a facilitator, a piece of the business, an associate, a client, an attendee to a conference, whatever it is. It's those things that I went back to because my intuition was so burning. That I said, no, I don't care if it's more time and more money. I have to do that. And those are the things that made it successful.
And you guys, intuition just on paper may look different than what your intuition is going to say.
Yes.
So you guys, when you do this enough, and at first, this is the irony with intuition. If you're not used to making decisions from an intuitive inner wisdom space, it will feel counterintuitive.
Yes.
But you got to be willing to take the step, have your community around you that believe in what you believe in, and take the step. And I'm telling you, it'll get a little bit easier to trust that when you feel the fear that you shouldn't do it or not. But I'm telling you guys, again, I work with so many leaders, and when we fan this gift of intuition, we go to 7 levels, you guys. I get really deep with people on this to get them back here, especially when there's a lot of chaos going in their life. Get back here. You guys, they make more powerful aligned decisions. Them and their team is more productive. I've literally seen people get the things done in their team. I've come back to them a month later like, oh my gosh, our team is not only better team culture, they are making decisions better themselves. They're more productive. They're more high performing because they're teaching their team to be more intuitive with their gifting, and then how it serves the collective, the vision and mission. You guys, I cannot overemphasize intuition. And it also will teach you when to get out of the fluff and flow and ease of the intuition into get the shizzy done, get the strategy. So you guys understand that. I'm not just saying intuition by itself. I really want to be clear. It's not just, yes, God is telling me to do this and I feel it in my heart. Yes, but then you have to pull that in. We have left and right brain, you guys, into strategy. This is where a mentor, this is where community is needed. Like, okay, I game on. I made the tough choice. Everybody said I shouldn't do that, thinks I'm crazy, but I'm surrounding myself with a good community coach that's going to help me do this, and I'm going to go for it. It's no different circling back around to how much should I share with this person? I want to be an authentic leader. How much do I share, to make sure that this is a good, honest connection with someone that I do or do not know that well? You guys, it's the same thing in every, I kid you not, you can use intuition in every facet of your life, every part of your business, if you know how to cultivate it to actually pull in all sides of your being. It's really the antennas to your body brilliance. To your spiritual truth. You guys, your body never lies to you. It never lies. It's your number one cheerleader. It loves you that much. It's in you 24/7. It has no ulterior motive. It's thinking ahead for you. That's why what seems like totally counterintuitive, like WTF, like I said this on my TEDx, not to give it away. You have to check it out. I had $100 in my bank account. I had to be like $6,000 worth of like payroll the next week. I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. And my intuition's like, well, go to give to charity. And I'm like, what? I did it. You guys, the next week I was able to pay. That's a whole nother story. But what I'm saying is your inner wisdom, that's why it's going to maybe be hard at first when you make the choice, because it's looking at your future self, what it wants you to be. So when you take that leap, it's going to feel counterintuitive. It's going to be fearful. You guys, I still have fear when I make an intuitive decision. That doesn't go away. But I have tools now that I teach in my program that I use on myself to shift it back into a powerful emotional state. So my frequency when I walk in a room shifts so I can make money at any given moment, which I believe each of you can, and I can. But it requires us to take a tough leap of faith, you guys, where science and faith collide. Science, things on paper can only take us so far before it's like, I'm doing this. So what you said, I love that you said that, Jim, when I look at the people I've interviewed on my podcast and I rub shoulders with, and or even the people that I have the honor to be in my leadership program, is they've all said this. Like, they're like, you know what? When I've made that tough decision, when everybody, quote unquote, said I shouldn't, magic happened. You guys, I opened my first practice in 2008 crash. Okay. I had mentors telling me that I shouldn't do it, like that I highly respected, which, by the way, the old people pleaser, especially my family and people I respected, was really hard for me to say no to. So for me to say, I'm jumping in was like a big power move for me. And I made you guys, I opened May 2008. I made 6 figures that year.
Yeah.
You guys, and again, what I said, there was times where I was like looking at my paycheck and like, I have to decide between a bill and eating. Guys, I'm not saying, again, not hard. But I'm saying at the end, I knew my inner wisdom was looking out for the best for me long term. You got to be willing to play the long term game. We've heard this before. It's not going to make it all, bells and whistles and, rose bushes and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, it will be. And life is hard no matter what hard you choose. So you might as well choose the thing that's aligned for you that's hard versus not aligned, because then at the end of your life, because I've been around, my older sister who passed away. I held her hand as she went into the next life. My stepfather and my father, all of them died of cancer. You guys, I've seen them on their deathbed, and it's so true. They're not actually regretting so much the things they did. They're actually regretting the things they didn't do. Yep. Guys, hear me. That they didn't do. And just be open to that. Like, what, who is it that you need to ask for forgiveness for? What is the thing that you've been wanting to do all your life? Jump in. Go say sorry to the mom that you haven't talked to in 20 years. Go start that business that is crazy to start right now. And there's abundance this year, you guys, in 2024. There is. But surround yourself with community. Get healthy, you guys. I do this in my program too, really getting this mentally, emotional, physical integrity in a space at a good temple so you can go out and do things we're talking about. Find a community. Tap into your intuition a bit more. If you don't know how, talk to us about it. There's community out there that want to be a cheerleader for you, that want to be a part of your team, your systems to get it right. There's nothing I have more joy over than to help leaders become even more epic leaders. Bold statement, you guys. My mission, and I started this a year and a half ago, is to impact 1 million leaders to use their unique impact, their unique gifting to be of good and service to the world.
Love it.
We need you. We need you in a world that's hurting, in a world there's a lot of evil going on here right now, you guys. But there's enough goodness that I think can stomp all that out. So that is my desire. That's my goal over the next 5 years. And I'm doing it. And I'm doing my core.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm fired up. Fired up. Wow. That was you got my brain just spinning. And I think back of just a couple things here before I wrap up, of those times where intuition pushed you to do the thing. And then you also mentioned intuition to maybe not do the thing, or intuition to pivot or transition and transfer. And when we're talking about that blackmail situation, in my world, I had the intuition to separate that relationship and I didn't take it. So I wanted to just pull back to everybody to understand that intuition is going to tell you to go take the things that are good. Intuition is also going to tell you to run away from the things that are bad.
100%.
And in my situation, I can think back of both of those scenarios. And we talked a lot about alignment, but I also want people to understand too that that employee, that hire that's great for you, that friend, that relationship, that spouse, that whatever it is, mom, dad, sister, brother, alignment may not continue throughout the whole time in that relationship. People do not follow their intuition sometimes and tend to become someone else, or transition or transfer or spend time with people that you don't necessarily align with. So my last question to you is, knowing that and understanding that, do you have any advice for people who, because I know I've experienced it, but advice for people who have said, well, that person, we were aligned and that employee was great and that output was high, something's changed. What do you do in that moment when you feel that intuition to say, my intuition is saying, even though that employee has been here for 9 years, that employee helped us build that one product that is our 87% of revenue still to date, and it was built 7 years ago. but my intuition is saying they shouldn't be on the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Yeah. I think that's such a great question. I've actually worked with a lot of leaders, and sometimes they have a spouse that's not evolved where they've evolved to. And you guys, I want to be very clear. That doesn't make someone here, you here. I'm just saying in this alignment where, yes, you're at a different space, a different alignment, a different vision, a different person. And how do you stay as a couple, right? And you guys, I've seen this. So it's not just in business. We see it in, best friends, 20 years together, then all of a sudden something just isn't right. It's not necessarily that there's a self-implosion. It's just like something isn't quite there. So I'm going to give this advice, whether it be you're in a marital status, whether you're in a business relationship, you're like, ooh, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Business,
a best friend,
partnership, at any level.
Exactly. You guys, we spend so much time not wanting to hurt people's feelings. And we stay there and you guys, I'm talking about high-level leaders that have multi-million-dollar businesses that I've worked with that want to avoid tough conversations, don't want to have a bad argument, don't want to hurt someone, don't want to be taken away, don't want to fire someone, don't want to be sued. We have all these projections of don't. So we hold until it finally implodes. Okay, you guys? So I know business versus a spouse versus a friendship are all different. I'm always a big believer, everyone. This is where I use my 7 levels deep intuitive master. If any of you guys want this copy, I can actually give it to you for PDF. I'd be totally fine with this because sometimes there can be layers to this a little bit. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you're hovering over a decision trying to justify, you're trying to figure out if it's intuition or not. What I'm saying is if you're feeling in a gut that this doesn't feel like it's where it needs to be and I need to jump on it. I'm a big believer, yes, you want to make that decision and cut sooner than later, let go sooner than later. But if you're a person that is new to intuition, I will say that, you guys, this is where getting coach or mentoring support to make sure it's not running away or avoiding a situation.
Sure.
So that's what I'll say, you guys, your intuition never lies. If it's a let go of the employee, no matter how great they've done, let go of the spouse because you've done A, B, C, and D, you guys, I believe intuition never lies. However, when you're new at it or you're in a moment where you're under a lot of stress and you're letting emotional turmoil take over, you may need a coach, community to support you, to help you navigate, to make sure that it's intuition and not justification of avoidance of a tough conversation or justification because you're afraid that A, B, C, and D are going to happen.
Find that true.
So you guys, I'm not trying to dance right, but what I will say is whether you're new to intuition or whether you have a lot of things going on and you're not in a great mental emotional state, you want a supportive coach community that can help get you there so you can actually truly be clear. I will say this at the end of the day, your intuition will never lie, but you don't want to trust it if you're in this cloud of emotion and you don't have the tools to, like I teach, to get you back in the game or have a community to help support you so they can kind of zoom out, if that makes sense. Again, if you are in a aligned state and it still feels hard, you're like, it's intuitive, Jennifer, but there's ways I help people from a communication standpoint to let people go as well, to create safety. I teach this a lot as leaders, that can create empowerment for both, even though
it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Right? Everything should be a win-win, 100%. Even on the level of termination.
And I will say,
and I think that is such a key point.
Yes.
Like we always think, oh, we're going to terminate that person. They're bad.
Yeah. Right.
And we associate termination with them being bad.
Right.
If you allow them to be employed with you for more than 3 or 4 months, you don't think they're a bad human.
No.
Right? Or you just aren't following any intuition.
Yeah.
But in those moments, that termination should be a win-win to a situation and a conversation where they see and understand that it's not working out as well. Right. And a good leader is having those conversations in real time, not avoiding. Avoiding conflict.
And you're teaching them through that for them to be better leaders.
Exactly.
One of the things I say, definition of a leader, everybody has a different definition. Mine is that you're creating other leaders. And you're leading by example of navigating tough conversations and doing something that you know is right, even though it may be a hard situation to separate from. And I'll say this, you guys, I've learned in really tough situations, because I believe this. I said this on my TEDx, you can actually, during heightened adversarial times, you can still be very intuitive. You have to know how to drop in. If you don't know how to do that, I say this. Trust someone that's mentoring you in your community as part of your intuition. Spouses do this a lot. I did this with mentors when I've been kind of in chaos. I've done this as an intuit where I download things.
Yeah.
I've downloaded things actually for you. Actually today, as we're talking, I've downloaded things for the people that I work with that are intuitive thoughts for you that can help cultivate, if there's a cloud for you, or even if there's not, kind of create momentum, even more steps. So I do believe you can also, when you're not feeling, you can trust your intuition. The people that you can trust that are your close nucleus, you can trust theirs.
Yes.
That's why we have the community. Like, what do you think? I'm in this chaos. I've had people like, let's get you first grounded out of that emotional state back into your body. You know, teach them, and then how can we together come up with an intuitive decision on this?
Move forward.
Exactly, you guys. So again, this is not about trying to make it complicated. I do believe you can make intuitive decisions very quickly, but then the strategy behind having the hard conversation of letting go, you know, I teach that too, and how to lead well to show the rest of your team that we're going to do this in a powerful way. So there's other layers to that. I would say, you know, intuition is crap unless you decide and then make actions to actually follow through on the decision, right? I mean, people's like, I'm into like, but do you actually follow through? It's the whole like, well, I need to fire that one. I need to fire, and then 6 months later they finally leave, and then ends up, you know, becoming a big mess.
People leave because they think that the structure of the company is weak, and no one listens to them. And if they can't see that person not underperforming because it's so obvious, then what else are they not seeing? I don't want to be around. I don't want to be on this ship. And it's this layer of things that happen that you don't even know.
Right.
Because you also, if you're not using your intuition to terminate that person, you're definitely not listening to your intuition that there's turmoil in other relationships.
You guys,
on the
going back to what you said about authenticity, like, we're having to let go of this employee. Like, you guys, I'm very big, again, how much you share at staff meetings versus like one-on-one, but that people know, like, they're watching in real time how you're handling it. You guys, I did that with an employee that wanted to start her own PT practice, and I could feel it. I did this in my own PT. I'm like, I can tell that you want to step. I want to show people like how I can let go, and like if there's other people coming forward like that, it creates such congruency in our team. When they saw me in real time deal with a situation that was hard, I didn't want her to go, but I knew there was something that she desired. How can we do it in a way? Can you give me 2 months? They saw in real time.
Win-win.
They saw. So she won. She made her own big practice. They won because like, oh, we can go to our leader and say, you know what, I'm thinking this or I'm thinking that without feeling I'm going to get fired. I want everybody to win. It created a huge amount of connection and vulnerability with our team. It's great, you guys. So the same thing, going back to your story of when you shared your vulnerable space of your wife in the miscarriages, and how that ultimately led to this intimate connection and ultimately a business connection, and ultimately that's something that you're going to be giving to the world in a powerful way. You guys.
And I didn't know at that time that when I was sharing these things that she did a TEDx. Let alone two that both have over 6 million views. So it wasn't this like premature or strategy or structure. It was natural based on being authentic. Building that human connection over that shared belief or shared heightened emotion or experience.
I literally think,
and then navigating through.
We can have a team culture without having 8 billion retreats a year to provide team culture building. Because, by the way, I love those. I love retreats. I'm not big
until your authenticity shines through is she can run a retreat. She can speak at a retreat. She can have all the impact, but she's sitting here saying, that's great. And yes, hire Jennifer for that. But the reality is she believes in this so much that we shouldn't have to get it to the point where you have to do 4 or 5 retreats.
Do it real time, my friend. Let your team see you go through navigating, letting someone go. There was a great employee, but is ready to jump, ship and do. Like, you guys, there's so much that, again, I've invested a lot of money on coaching, mentorship, in community masterminds, and they've all been great lessons, and some have been great, and some have not been so great. And this is the lesson I've always learned, is what you said. Go back to your inner wisdom. Go back to honesty. Suck it up and step in as a leader and have tough conversations. Do tough decision making in front of your team within the intuitive transparency we talked about. You guys, some of that is just getting on the mat and practicing. You know, again, when I say intuition, sometimes it's the lesson you have to learn by getting on the mat so you can actually make a better decision next time, and it's more accelerated. Like,
totally.
just
Timing.
Timing's everything. Transparency. If you guys listen, if you're not humble now, when you become a business leader, you will be humble. Like I said, I mean, my credit score, I think, has been so roller coaster. I mean, literally, like I had to let go of materialistic things a little bit. And you guys, I have had financial success. I've had relational success. I've had all that different success, but I've also had relational plummets. I've had financial plummets. And when I got really honest with that and allow people to see that in real time within the authentic way of sharing intuitively, right? How much do I share? Who do I share it to? Really, it's not about leveraging. It's about leveraging to allow everyone to win.
Well, that's why you share it. And that's why you be authentic. And that's why you ask for help, because that bigger goal that what can come out of all that isn't about you.
No.
It helps you.
Yeah.
And it helps you heal maybe, and it helps you get over certain things or get input or get help that by sharing it, you didn't even know this person was going to see it if it was on social and they reached out.
Yeah.
That's all great.
Yes.
But if you're doing it solely to help you, it's not going to unfold that way.
Anyway, I always say this. One of my favorite phrases is, when you get it's all about you. And I mean, all this negative crap that you're bringing to the situation or pride or whatever it is, you realize it's not about you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just this really humility of knowing where your behaviors and, your thoughts, your deeds, your emotions and where they're at, and checking and knowing what you need to work on and being authentic in that and letting that completely evolve and coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning, really allowing your inner wisdom, your inner frequency to come through with your specific impact. If you're willing to take this leap of entrepreneurship or living just a best life, be willing to faceplant, be willing to be authentic and vulnerable with others, be willing to disconnect or detach from outcome, from materialistic things, and know that you're doing everything you can when you're in your desired space of impact. And when you are there, my friend, impact becomes accelerated influence. Game over. You've won this game called life.
Mic drop. Jennifer Watson. Thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. What a deep conversation. And if you haven't saw her TEDx, please do. What's the title of the TEDx?
It is called The Chemistry of Resilience. It's my second TEDx. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and we'll be going on tour with it. God just kind of downloaded that to me intuitively, so we take it on the road throughout the United States. But yeah, definitely check it out. And if you guys have questions about this episode, I'm here. I answer my own DMs still. So I really want to make sure that people get a lot from this episode. Any way we can support other epic people doing epic things, I'm all about it.
Same here. Well, thanks so much for listening to us. Another jam-packed episode of the Impact Effect podcast. And we'll see you soon.